Good to see you, man.
Karibu sana,
Asante
man.
sana.
So this weather, how is it treating you?
Kind of got me a bait when I was on my way here.
Yeah.
So, nobody saw it coming, so.
But I actually read earlier, Met Department guys had warned Kenyans that it's going to rain pretty much most of the weekend from today.
I think most of us are very skeptical about those guys. But,
You never really trust them, do you?
Well, they get it wrong more than they get it right, so.
I know, man. But it's good to have you here, you guy.
Thank you.
Let's just get down into it. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the amazing work that you do, the art of spoken word, poetry. You're a writer as well. And we're telling our stories.
Yeah, for sure.
We're saying why writers must document the times. And we're living in some very interesting times as Kenyans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some say it's a revolutionary state that we're in. But I'm curious, what's the one thing that you would like Kenyans to know about writing, poetry, that you think they don't know about?
I think anybody can write. Anybody can write. Like just... but essentially, we are also coming from a very oral, culture, tradition, before colonialism, because I think we're only talking about writing now because we took literature from the oral tradition to the paper, to the page. And but essentially, I think anybody who thinks, who has a mind on their heads and they can write and they can express what they feel. What the medium might differ, the content might differ, but everybody can write.
Yeah, everybody can write.
Yeah.
But apparently, most guys, or quite a number of guys, might not know that you've been around this industry, this space for some time, bro. So let's talk about your background. Yeah? Is this what you've always wanted to do?
Not exactly. I didn't know there was anything artistic about me until I was in high school.
No way.
Yeah, for sure. I was one of those kids people that thought, he's probably gonna end up as a doctor or a lawyer or something, some conventional profession, and until I got to high school, and then I was going through my tumultuous adolescence, and I was looking for a vent, and I found it in words and in music, in poetry, and that's when I started writing. Yeah.
It's interesting you put it like that, because most guys also think that, the narrative is that for artists, especially writers, they use their pain, their wounds, not necessarily their wins or their victories, to inspire them to write really powerful stuff. You know what I mean? So do you write to heal, or do you write to just express some of the feelings that you have?
I'll put it this way. I think there's nothing that will give you better clarity than pain, right? Pain gives you clarity. Struggle gives you clarity. So you don't really think about yourself when you're happy, right? You just enjoy the moment. But when you're sad, or when you're going through a tough time, that's when you really get to dig deep into yourself, right? And that's where the writing comes from. That's where the expression comes from. It's not just writing, but all sorts of expression, whether it's visual art, whether it's, even the best films you've watched, even, like any kind of expression, really. Like it comes from that, because you have to dig deeper before you can project outside, right? Because if you project outside without digging deep, you project nothing, really. Like you have nothing to project.
That's why Kenya has a lot of amazing artists. Maybe because we go through so much. This Kenyan experience has been tough.
I think if you're looking at it from that point where we start like the whole national struggle, I think so. We've gone through of course we have. I think we are one of the countries. I feel like we have one serious identity crisis, right? Which is what makes us really adaptable across the world. But it's the same thing that makes us really confused about where we stand on a lot of things, like even on who we are, right? It's even when we are fighting everybody outside the country who happens to say in Kenya, to put Kenya in a bad light. At the same time, we have a lot of things we are confused about, locally. Like, there's a lot of confusion in terms of, where people are. Because you see it online, you hear it in people's conversations, you see it in how people carry themselves. there's still a lot of, we don't necessarily know what's really the Kenyan identity, which also it's something you don't expect if because essentially to assume that is something we're going to find is to overlook the fact that Kenya wasn't really, there wasn't a Kenya until 1963, right? And or until like the scramble for Africa started. There wasn't something like Kenya. So you take all these different nations and you put them together. So of course it's a crisis.
So how has that journey been for you as a writer? Since you're saying, we have some sort of identity crisis. So how did you find yourself? How did you find your voice in the midst of all this confusion?
I think I had to get lost. I had to get lost first, and I was lost for quite a bit. Like, I think when I was in high school, that's when I started. I come from a very dysfunctional family background, and I think I started coming across things about my family and myself when I got into high school, and that's when I went into this rabbit hole of, at first it was, the anger, it was the frustration, it was, because you're angry at yourself, you're angry at your people, you're angry at everything, right? And then most people never get to go through that. So for me, I think I was lucky that I managed to somehow, through the arts and the words, managed to kind of figure it out. I can say, like, for sure that, I feel like we're all learning, we're all growing into discovering who we are, and also even in terms of this of us as a country, we're still, like, it's the crisis that get us closer together,
Correct.
Because and I think young people are proving that more than anybody else, right? When with what happened last year, with what happened earlier this year, it's we're finding a common ground. Because before that, it was like the old divide and rule business worked like to a T, right? But now we are getting to a point where we realize, okay, you might be a different tribe, I might be a different tribe, but our struggles are really the same.
Yeah. So, right? For your art specifically, is it a case of do you because we're all storytellers?
Yeah, we are.
So does your art reflect societal issues, or it's more of a case of personal expression? You're pretty much expressing your own experience of this Kenyan story.
I think it's one and the same, right? I think I'm reflecting what's happening, but at the same time, I'm expressing the human experience from my point of view and from the point of view of the people I interact with and the people around me. And not just that, also I'm trying to shape like how people perceive themselves and perceive even their futures, right? Because more than just a reflection, art is also, like, somebody put it like this way, like, more than just a reflection of society, art is the hammer that kind of, shapes, like how, because before all these things, even technology, right?
Right.
Before there was actual technology on the ground, an artist dreamed it, right? Whether it's through a sci-fi book or a sci-fi film or like all these things were dreamt and imagined by artists before they were actual, things on the ground, right? So it's before even the people, because people try to put science as different from or away from art, but science is inspired by art, right? A huge part of that, and also if you had to argue it out, science just really science is discovering what's already here, right? What exists, right?
Correct.
Art is a creation of new
worlds.
Yeah. Like we dream new things, new worlds. Like 10, 20 years, 30 years ago, people didn't think all this old internet, like and social media business will be a possibility. I
like what you just said, because I read somewhere somebody once said it's because of art that we can also imagine how heaven looks like.
Yeah, for sure.
You can paint pictures.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful place. I'm curious, by the way, because I've seen your work, and some of your pieces, you've done them in vernacular.
Yeah.
So 2 questions. How many languages can you speak, and why vernacular? I had Kisi. I'm half Kisi, so I was like, oh, you guys are so cool. I think it was the one for I can't remember. I'm actually gonna.
My name is Kimeru though. Like
Yeah. But have you spoken Kisi in one of your?
No, it's Kimeru.
That was Meru.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bantu is similar.
Yeah, but the thing about Kisi and Kimeru is that we speak the same.
Yeah,
right?
Even the tonation is the same.
I might not understand 90% of what you're saying, and you might not understand 90% of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But if somebody who doesn't understand either of the languages listen to us, they will think we're speaking the same language.
Yeah.
It's like the intonations, the way we carry the conversation, everything.
I actually thought that was
similar,
easy.
right?
Yeah.
Now look.
So why vernacular though?
For me, it's because it's part of my identity, right? And I think sometimes people try to simplify or they try to box us into this one thing, right? We're very complex beings and individuals, right? I am Meru as much as I am Kenyan, as much as I am an English speaker, as much as I am, a Swahili speaker, because of the background I'm born into. I was born here in these times when we've been colonized and we've been forced to speak English, and at the same time, we have Swahili as a national language, but at the same time, I come from Meru. And I can speak Kimeru. I can also speak Kikuyu to a certain extent because I grew up in Timau, and Timau is partly like Kipia and partly in Meru, and it's kind of a metropoli like that. So I grew up around Kikuyu people as well, right? So I think in terms of saying how many languages I speak, I can say 4, give or take, yeah.
Okay. So in many cases, we like to separate the art from the artist.
Yeah.
And so for your case, where does Dorphanage the man end and Dorphanage the poet begin?
It's one and the same.
Oh, really?
I am one of those people who has no intention of separating myself from my art. Right?
What you see is what you get.
Yeah, what you see is what you get. And because I believe that it's okay for those who feel like they need to separate, because I don't know, like some people are able to do it as a profession completely, where it's a business and you're just somebody who runs it. But for me, I feel like it's one and the same thing, because I want to stand behind my words. Like my words are not just they're not just products. Mm-hmm. No. My words are the essence of what I stand for, what I believe in, right? So it's if what you're gonna get as in person is what you're gonna get in from the artist, right? And I think also think about like some of the greatest artists we know, that the reasons why we hold them in such high reverence is because they really stood behind their words. Whether it's the Bob Marleys or the Tupac Shakurs or the Fela Kutis. It's because they lived what they spoke, right?
I want to ask a question related to that point. So you said your words are your essence.
Yeah.
So when all is said and done, when you look at your art collectively, what do you stand for? What do you believe? What's your messaging?
I think, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to do as an artist is really I'm trying to put humanity in better light and position, right? I'm trying to add more to humanity than what I'm taking out from it, right? And this art is my biggest gift to humanity. There is nothing else that I can do that I feel supersedes this art, right? Because I also know, even as much as everybody, I said earlier that everybody can write. It's not everybody has the gift to express themselves
100%.
in the way that I express myself.
Yeah.
To articulate their feelings or their perspectives in the ways I do. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, and if that's my gift, then I think it's not just mine; it's our gift, right? And so that's what I'm trying to give out as much as I can, while I still can, because we're here for a short while.
That's very powerful. Do you feel like you're at a point in your life where your art would probably, especially from the Kenyan context,
I
want to compose my words very well. Do you feel like you probably need to partner with other entities like corporates to elevate your work and reach a wider audience, and not just the audience, but also get more resources in order to produce more? Or are you okay being an independent and working with the people?
I think it depends, right? And for me, it depends with if that means me sacrificing the integrity of my art, then I don't want to. Then I don't care for the partnerships and the endorsements, right? If it's there to complement, then we can talk, right? Because essentially, I live in a capitalist state. We need money to survive, right?
Yeah.
But for me, the integrity of my work, of my art, means something that I'm not willing to. I'm not willing to transact that away for the sake of my well-being, right? And so the way I've continued to do it is somehow I've found alliances of people who believe in what I do, and people people are willing to support that. Whether it's the fans who show up who come for the shows, or buy tickets, or buy merchandise, or the people who recommend me for gigs, for paying gigs, and or the organizations that engage me in the activities, then those alliances, because we all need each other anyway,
It's
right?
true.
Whether even the corporates and the organizations. Even the government, as much as it's, like the entities within the government try to act like, like they can operate away from, right? Like the people, it has to be like an either or. We all need each other.
It's
right?
collaborative.
It's collaborative, because if it doesn't, if it's not collaborative, then what, right?
Then what? Yeah. Yeah, so we've seen a lot of young Kenyans mobilize these days, both online and on ground, especially online.
Yeah.
So moving forward, what role do you think literature is going to play when it comes to this new awakening and resistance, or should I say civic awakening?
I think it's going to play the role that literature has always played, and which is like multifaceted in that aspect, because it's going to be memory, right? One, because we need to remember, right? It's going to be chronicling, right? Because we need to document, right? It's going to be therapeutic or cathartic, whichever word you choose, because we need to heal, right? And not all of us can afford therapists and psychiatrists and all these professionals that that deal with mental health and stuff, right? So for some of us, the only thing we have is the music we listen to, is the poetry we read, is the books we read, is the movies we watch, right? That's our therapy.
So
right?
It's interesting. The fact is, many Kenyans are going through a lot of mental issues, mental health issues.
Yeah.
So you feel like the only safe space we're left with is the power of words.
Not just words. I feel like the power of art in general.
Art
right?
in general.
Yeah,
right.
because some people also, sometimes it's really like if somebody takes the right picture, right?
It's true.
Right? That, because people don't know this probably, but how the old song "We Are the World" was created. It was out of that Mohammed Amin photo that was taken in Somalia, in Ethiopia in 1984, I think, right? The one with the vulture waiting for a kid to pass away, right? Because vultures, they're scavengers, right? And that is what kind of rallied people to start organizing towards the raising funds for the famine and the drought that was in Ethiopia back then, right? So if you take the right picture at the right moment, even the war in Vietnam, it took like a monk setting themselves on fire.
Correct.
For that whole campaign to take a whole new direction altogether, right? And so it's really like different artists capture things in different ways, and they're all powerful. As long as the essence is there, the essence of what you're trying to say. Because also, people can read between people. That's why people keep on talking about, this is fake, that is real, this is fake, that is real. Because we all know the essence of what real is, the essence of what fake looks like, right?
Very powerful. Guys, that's the one and only, the legend, Dorphanage. dropping bars, explosive bars, man. We're telling our stories. Why writers must document the times. Now, with the kind of work that you produce, that you curate, do you find it easy to get support and bookings? How's that process looking like?
Do I find it easy to get booked? Not at all. I think it's gotten easier, right? Because my name was, it's like you reaching out, right? Because you reached out, and it's sometimes your name precedes you in that way, and with that it gets easier now, because of course I can't say I'm where I need to be or where I want to be, but things are easier than they were 13, almost 14 years ago when I came to Nairobi, right? And it's taken a lot of work put in, right? And a lot of initiatives from different fronts, like, because it's not just artists. We've had friends who helped us, even in terms of social media. Like there's a friend of ours who was called Nyacharo, who helped us build like our social media presence, going from 2013 all the way to 2018 when he passed away, right? And it's just different people coming through with their different strengths to help us, like, just make noise about what we were doing. And even now, a lot of people will help us, like, push what we're doing, even if it's like I share the poster, there's other people are going to reshare it. Other people are going to share my work, some even with their families, right? And it's all this community of people. I'm here because of villages and villages of people who have actually believed in what I have to offer, right? And what I have to do. And because they realize, like, it's important work, right? And they feel like it's work that needs to be out there, or it's work that other people around them need to interact with. And that's how we keep on growing. So, but in terms of saying it's easy, I can't say it's easy, all right? Because at the same time, if you're as opinionated and as stubborn as I am, like, on what you stand for and what you believe in, then of course you rub a lot of people the wrong way, because they really don't want the trouble that comes with that.
People fear the truth.
Yeah, a lot of people are afraid of the truth. So because I'm going to ask the hard questions, I'm gonna put you to task. If you make a commitment to me, I'm gonna put you to task. That's for sure, right? Or if you're engaging me, also I want us to do it in a way that I know how I'm getting in, and how you're engaging me, right? I don't want any gray areas, because we leave the gray areas, and that's how artists get taken advantage of. I've been taken advantage of enough times. I've seen other artists get taken advantage of enough times, right? By people who claim to support artists and claim to support young people, right? And so we have to, I think we learn our lessons, and we try to do better. And also, I think sometimes even by standing my ground, then also I'm making it very clear to you where I stand, so that when you're engaging me, you know where I stand. So you might decide, I don't want the heat that comes with that, but you probably try around, and then you realize, like, everybody else is just giving you, like, and so you have to come back to me, and so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into.
The sort of influence that you have, of course, has a trickle-down effect. The many kids who look up to you, especially the kids who want to be poets, spoken word artists, or just artists in general, they look at you and they're like, Mom, I want to be like Dorphan. Dad, I want to end up like Dorphan. Why is it important for young Kenyans to learn the art of storytelling?
Because everything we know, right? And I mean everything we know, or we think we know, was passed on through a story. Whether it's whatever you think you know about Kisii or your Kisii culture, that was passed on as a story, right? Whether it's what you think you know, or whether it's what you know about media and journalism, right? That was passed on through story, right? Journalism itself is storytelling, right? So whether you're telling it on the mic, or you're telling it behind the camera, or you're telling it from out there, you're reporting what's happening, all that is storytelling. So storytelling is amongst us, right? And also because we as a people, as a human race, the one thing that we have that we can really like resolve a lot of the issues we are going through is storytelling, is learning how to have dialogues with each other. And the best way to have dialogues with each other is stories, right? So, because otherwise we're just going to be, trying to argue over each other. And then when dialogue fails, what happens? Violence comes into the picture.
Correct.
Right? So, the more we learn the art of dialogue, which is really the art of storytelling, it means the better off we are. Because we can walk around without necessarily having to resort to punches or firearms or, or bombs, right?
Yeah.
So it's really like, and also if we have to even capture what's happening, or we have to recall what's happened before, or even we have to imagine what's going to come, we'll have to do it through stories.
I want you to hold it right there. Sorry to cut you short, my brother.
No problem.
We're coming back to talk about politics.
Yeah.
It's a big conversation in the country right now, especially amongst young Kenyans. Guys, Dorphanage is here. We're telling our stories. Why writers must document the times. I've got some common and Pete Rock, all kind of ideas. 9 minutes to 8.
The latest talk and greatest memories on Spice FM.
Listen. This is a